Mm.
And like not just physically, but like spiritually.
Yeah.
Well, today's deep dive might have some answers.
Okay.
Or at least some like seriously thought-provoking ideas, I think.
I'm intrigued.
We're going to be checking out coaching message, #1 from the Silverback Disciple.
Okay.
And this is not your typical self-help stuff. He calls this whole thing the mechanics of spirit.
Interesting. So, like, what does that even mean?
Right. It's like he's taking these spiritual concepts and like, I don't know.
Putting them into, like, a shop manual.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's refreshing.
I like it.
So he jumps right in. He's talking about these 5 things that he says, like, everybody's always trying to control.
Okay.
Health, family, love, career, finances.
It's like he's reading my mind.
Right.
Yeah, those are those big ones.
Yeah, it's like all the things we stress about, like 24/7.
Absolutely. These are huge. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, these are like those deep-seated desires, you know, for like security, connection, purpose.
Yeah.
That need to have like dominion over something.
It's that feeling of like, I want to steer the ship.
Exactly.
Tapped into my own destiny.
You got to have a sense of agency in a world that often feels, I don't know, just out of control a lot of times.
Totally.
Yeah.
But here's where it gets interesting.
Okay.
The Silverback Disciple, he uses this analogy of humans as generators.
Okay.
What do you think about that?
That's a powerful image.
Right.
Yeah, like I'm a generator.
Okay, so he's basically saying that, you know, we're capable of like producing this incredible energy.
Yeah.
Like our lives, our experiences, but the output
Yeah.
depends on the fuel we're using.
Okay, I'm picking up what you're putting down.
And that fuel,
Yeah.
our thoughts.
Our thoughts, okay.
So break this down for me. How do thoughts become fuel in this analogy?
Well, he's not saying that we like literally think up gasoline or anything like that, but it's more like our thoughts, they have this real impact on our energy, like our vibration.
Okay.
And that ultimately shapes the reality that we experience. You know, that whole thoughts become things idea.
Yeah.
He's taking that, running with it, and saying, if we're always feeding our minds negativity, worry, fear, all that.
It's like putting diesel in a gasoline engine.
Exactly. It's not going to run right.
No, it's going to be bad.
Yeah.
Really bad. It makes you think twice about those mental loops that we get in.
It really does. I mean, he's saying that our thoughts aren't just these like fleeting things, you know. They have power. They're shaping our internal and our external worlds.
I like that.
And he connects it all the way back to the beginning, Genesis 1, where creation itself starts with thought, the spoken word.
So if we're created in the image of, well, a creator.
Right.
Who like spoke the universe into being, then like logically.
We must also have that creative potential in our own minds. That's exactly his point. He's drawing that straight line between thought and creation. Wow. On a cosmic scale and in our own lives.
That's kind of wild when you think about it that way.
It really is.
So how do we tap into that power?
Right.
Where do we even begin?
So that is where the regime of thought comes in.
Okay.
And this is where it gets really interesting.
Okay.
He's suggesting we've all got this internal operating system.
Well,
this like deep down way of thinking and seeing the world, shaped by everything. Our experiences, our beliefs, you name it. Even stuff we don't even realize.
it's like our default setting.
Exactly.
But he's saying that we can change it.
That is the crux of his argument. He digs into these Hebrew words for image and likeness and says it's not just about physically looking like God. It's way deeper. It's about having that same power of thought.
Oh, wow.
For creation. He's saying we can change our regime of thought to line up with something way bigger than us.
Okay, now we're getting somewhere. But how do we actually do that?
Right.
How do we rewrite our internal code?
Well, that's where he gets into this difference between the kingdom of heaven and the kingdom of God.
Those are two things that I feel like people use interchangeably all the time.
All the time.
What's the difference?
He sees them as completely different.
All right. I'm intrigued. Break it down for me. What's the difference? Okay, so we're diving into the kingdoms.
Yeah.
Color me curious.
Yeah.
What makes these two kingdoms so different in his view?
So he describes the kingdom of heaven as like this boundless realm of pure energy.
Okay.
And like, I don't mean like energy drinks.
Right.
Or like the power grid or anything.
Not Red Bull.
No, no. Really? Think of it more like the basic force.
Okay.
That makes everything come alive.
Whoa, okay.
You know, he even says that, like, in the kingdom of heaven, even things that we think of as, like, inanimate objects, they're actually pulsating with this life force.
So less about pearly gates and more about, like, a giant cosmic battery?
Yeah. Exactly, like this vibrant, dynamic source that everything comes from. But then he's like, but the kingdom of God,
Okay.
that's different.
Okay.
He says that's not about a physical place.
Okay.
It's about God's governing power, like the ultimate regime of thought.
So less about location and more about, like, tapping into a certain way of thinking.
Yes, a way of being. And he says we don't have to wait to die to experience it. It's accessible now if we can get ourselves in line with that creative, life-giving energy.
So we're talking about transformation. We're talking about aligning with this higher power. Where does Yah'shua Hamashiach fit into all of this?
Great question. Now, some listeners might not be familiar with that term, so
Right.
just a little context. Yah'shua Hamashiach, that's the Hebrew name for Jesus Christ, recognizes his identity in the Jewish faith.
Okay.
And the Silverback Disciple, he sees Yahshua as like the ultimate example of someone who lived out the thought regime of the kingdom of God.
So he's the blueprint.
He's the model. He even quotes Matthew 6.33, where it says, "But seek ye first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all these things shall be added unto you."
Oh, wow.
You know? And by all these things, he means like all that stuff we talked about. Health, family, career, all of it. He's saying that if we can align our thoughts and our actions with this divine blueprint, it'll all just fall into place.
It's like he's saying that instead of chasing after those things directly, if we focus on aligning ourselves with this higher power, this higher way of thinking, those things just happen as a side effect.
Yeah, like byproducts of a life that's in alignment with something way bigger.
It's the totally different way of looking at things.
Right. It's profound. He's saying, stop trying to control everything outside of yourself and start cultivating this inner alignment with what he believes is the true source of power and abundance.
It's a lot to take in.
Yeah.
But it's also, like, really empowering. Because he's saying that we're not just victims of circumstance, that we have a say in shaping our reality.
That's right.
And not by, like, wishing on a star or something,
Yeah.
but by choosing our thoughts carefully.
And that is what makes the mechanics of spirit so interesting to me. It's spiritual, but it's also practical.
Yeah.
Like he's bridging that gap. It's a challenge to really look at ourselves. What are we running on? Is it empowering us or is it holding us back?
It's like taking inventory of our mental toolbox.
Yes.
What are we building our lives with, Maybe it's time for an upgrade.
Right. It's about recognizing that we have a choice in every single moment. Every single thought, we're feeding that energy, either to what we want or to what we don't want.
This whole thought is fuel thing.
Yeah.
It makes you rethink that whole be careful what you wish for idea.
It really does. Because he's taking these old spiritual ideas, right? And he's grounding them in this practical way.
Yeah.
Like it's almost scientific. It's like spirituality isn't about just blindly believing.
Yeah.
It's about understanding how this energy works, this very real, very powerful energy we all have.
It's like he found the instruction manual or something.
Yes.
And then he's like, here you go.
Go ahead, try it out.
Experiment. See what you can do.
Right. He's saying, look at yourself and the world in a new way. See how your thoughts, your beliefs, all of that connect to what you actually experience in your life.
It's a lot, but that's what makes it so fascinating.
It is.
Makes you want to dig deeper,
Totally.
See how it all fits into your own life.
It reminds you that we're not just along for the ride. We're not just watching our lives happen. We're in the driver's seat.
We are.
We're creating it all.
Yeah, and that is a powerful thought to end on, I think. If we are these generators, like he says,
right.
If we can shape reality with our thoughts, what are we putting out there?
Yeah.
Yeah. What are we creating? It's something to think about as we, continue on our journeys.
Absolutely, it is.
That's it for this deep dive. We'll see you next time.